Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, my name is Ben Thomas and you're watching Combat Sports UK. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest. He is the new Cage Warriors Flyweight champion, Shaj Haque. First of all, how are you doing today? And congratulations on winning Cage Warriors Gold.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing great. I'm just, like I was saying, since the fight, my phone's been on fire, and I'm just really enjoying the moment as it's happening.
I mean, has it actually started to sink in that you are being introduced as the Cage Warriors Flyweight champion? Has it started to sink in, or are you still just trying to get used to it?
It's one of those things. Like it's sinking in, like this achievement, because I'm getting lots of great response. But it's one of those. I feel like I should have had this years ago. I really believe that I should have had this opportunity a good few years back, and I was denied it just through fight politics. So in terms of the actual win itself, that I feel like I've been there already. Since I've actually beat Sam Creasey before, and I feel like I should have had this a long time ago. But the reality of actually winning it and getting the response from everybody, and just seeing like the impact it's had just on me, my gym, my guys, and just all around, just even Bangladesh, the knockout went viral, and loads of people are saying really great things about it. So it's been a bit overwhelming, really, the response. But I've been enjoying the moment.
I'm not surprised, and you thoroughly deserve this moment. Like you said, you've been in the sport for so long now. You feel like it's been a long time coming in. It really has. So congratulations on that. And let's just get straight into it. I mean, you captured that belt in the most spectacular fashion by knocking out Sam Creasey on New Year's Eve at Cage Warriors 148. I mean, it's not really a bad way to end the year, is it?
It's literally the term, finish the year with a bang, isn't it? It's quite literal. I feel like it was like almost like meant to be, because I was obviously matched with him in November, and then that kind of that fell through because he pulled out. And just the way the whole year has been, like I started the year fighting for a title in Almighty, and then all my guys, like literally as a team, I think we've been on about, I can't remember exactly number of shows, about 10, 12 shows in the year, or maybe more. But like we've had 9 title fights, preparing for them. So we've had just everybody in 5-round camps, and we've even had a few other guys coming to train with us that were getting ready for title fights. So the gym's just been absolutely booming, with just like fight prep, and so I've been coaching as well as training for myself for these fights. And I feel like we've called it strap season. We called it when we started the year, because I knew all these guys are going to be fighting for belts, myself as well. And I said to myself that it was at the end of 2021. I said I want to be fighting for that world title in 2022. I said that in I think it was one of the interviews I did, building up to the Almighty title. And I feel like just the way the year's gone, I was first matched in November, but then I had like Shawan and things fighting for a title after that. And then for that one to get cancelled, and then for the biggest one to be right at the last day of the year, and then Shawan defends his belt in December, and then Sammy became a champ in September, and then Shawan defended his in December, and then won the world title in New Year's Eve. It's just what a way to end the year.
I mean, we'll get a tiny bit deeper into your gym in a moment, but just how important was it to have all of your gym going into 5-round camps, kind of going through the same preparation that you were at the end of the year? Was that such a big motivation for you to see your teammates, the people you've been training?
Yeah, I definitely think me fighting first year, I thought that me fighting too actively is going to hinder my coaching. And in a sense, it does in certain aspects. But when it came to these fight preps, I realized because I'm going through the emotions at the same time, I'm very alert. I know exactly what these guys are feeling as well. So I feel like we're all kind of riding it together. So I feel like that actually helped me coach better. I feel like I could see, I could tell when the guys are struggling with certain things and just their mindset and stuff, because I'm going through the same emotions. It happens to you. You feel nerves, you feel certain pressures. Sometimes you get overexcited and things, and because I'm going through them emotions, I can see it happening with my guys, and I feel like I'm able to better advise them and on what to do about it, and things that I'm doing to deal with these type of pressures and stuff. I just feel like because my mind's just really sharp, always like focused, I'm able to pick up on things. I'm able to teach them the right stuff when they need it. And I've just really been enjoying it, to be fair. I think I was actually looking forward to putting my guys on with me on cards, It was quite tough. It's quite tough on the day, but I've got a pretty strong coaching team. I've got my brother Sham and Jordan Cooper. These guys are phenomenal coaches. So I'm lucky to have that kind of support as well. So on the day when I fight with my guys, I don't really do any coaching. These guys take over and they do a fantastic job.
I mean, it certainly makes it a bit easier, doesn't it? But let's just talk about fight night a bit. We just mentioned there that you have had a unanimous decision victory over Sam Creasey before that dated back to 2016. Although 6 years is a long time in MMA, I mean, we all know anything can happen in 6 years. Do you believe that bout in 2016 gave you the mental edge maybe heading into fight night?
Ooh, it's a tricky one. I think I wouldn't say it did exactly, but because I felt like for him, it's like for example, if it was me to get a rematch with certain guys that have beat me, I feel like it would give me a whole new fire. But for him, I don't know what kind of things he went through. I know some people do have that psychological kind of battle to have. Because I felt it as well because I've already beat him, so it's like, what am I there to prove? I just have to win that belt. That had to be my motivation because I've beat him already. I've beat the guys that beat him. I felt like I was going in there just to kind of just for the title. Like I made that joke before. I was like, I clocked the division, but then I had to come back and do a side mission to get the belt. So that was kind of the way I had to find something to motivate myself for it. And I feel like for him, there's nothing better than getting a win back against someone that's beat you. So maybe give me some edge. I'm not sure, but I think just the performance itself and the result shows that the amount I've improved in that time. The last time I fought, it went like a decision. I did feel very dominant, but in terms of you can see the power difference and just the precision and the technique compared to back then. I actually landed that same punch. I actually have a video of it back in 2016. And then I looked at it again now, and the finer differences is what makes it a knockout.
I mean, we're actually going to talk about that shot a bit more now. It was a perfectly timed overhand right. And it's got to be said, that shot was coming. I mean, you threw it back in 2016 and you said it connected, but it didn't connect as sweet as this one. It was only a matter of time until it landed in a vicious way. Throughout the rounds, you were feinting and almost connecting every time you threw the left and the right. Was there an opening you saw in fight camp, maybe from the fight in 2016, or did you see it open throughout the rounds?
Well, we studied him. I study all the guys that I fight. I've got, and I was saying the coaches that are with me as well, Sham and Jordan. They're very good analytical coaches, and we identified that. We noticed that people know that I've got a very good jab, and a lead hand, but we identified that he's actually more susceptible to the right hand. And I watched certain fights, and when he does get hit, he gets clipped with the right hand, and so I worked that. It wasn't fluke, I worked that in the camp. I knew what I was looking for. If you look at the first round, I actually landed it, but not as clean in the first round in that fight. Actually, I landed once or twice, I think, when I watched it back, but it didn't land as clean, and I knew that I was getting closer to getting that each time. And I did get dropped, so I was like, okay, I've got to be careful. But at the same, but I really, but when I fell over and things, I wasn't like rocked. I shouldn't say. I got knocked down. I felt like I more lost my balance. I wasn't dizzy. And then each time I was getting a bit closer and getting that angle that I needed. And then that round, I went for it, and I think he tried to counter me at the same time. And when I put that like in the lead hand feint, and then boom, it landed perfect, exactly how I felt like I would have landed it. If it wasn't that round, I would have landed it in the following round. I don't think he would have gone 5 rounds with me either way.
I mean, throughout the first two rounds, it was coming. That right was always there. You seemed to just be that close to that fight-ending blow, and it just came in the third round. So it was an absolutely beautiful KO. I mean, I was watching it, I was like, crazy. It was mad. But how did it feel once you landed the overhand right? Because one thing I noticed after the fight, most guys who win titles and knock out their opponents tend to run around the cage. They celebrate in a certain way. However, you were a bit different. You calmly walked away from your opponent. You walked around the cage, and you were kind of giving yourself a mental talking to. Is that something you practice? Maybe like one of those regular struts, or were you trying to take it?
It's strange. So if you look at even if you look at my previous performances, I feel like I've been having this battle with my own self all this time. Because like I was saying, I feel like I should have had this a long time ago, and I feel like all the last, I'd say, 5 fights I've had, that win streak that I've had, I feel like most of it was me fighting with myself. I believe that these guys, hence look, the last guy I fought was Sam Creasey, a guy that I've beat before. I feel like I was reclimbing the ladder that I should, that like, again. It wasn't that I was like going further than I'd been. And I felt like it was more of a battle with myself. And like I was saying, I believed I was already like a champion. But I was just so frustrated that I had to work for it again, all these years later, and I didn't get my shot. And it was just a mix of emotions. I can't really put a thing on it. I did a lot of self talk though. That's something. I've always done it, but I did a lot of self talk and a lot of psychology with myself. I went right back to things that I learned when I was back at university and things, and I started going back to doing like meditation and stuff. And so you can see in the fight, I'm actually talking to myself. It was like a cue. I was telling myself to stay in the moment because it's very easy. It sounds silly, but even in a pace of a fight, you can switch off. You hear it loads. So every time I was getting clipped or having an exchange, I was telling myself not to switch. I was going, I was saying this is my moment, especially building up that fight. I said this will be my moment. This is my moment, and that's kind of what I was repeating when I knocked him out. This is my moment, and I was also saying that. I think I was talking in third person. I was saying like, you are the best flyweight in the world or best fighter in the world. I can't remember the exact words I was using, but I was just firing them words out. This is my moment. I'm the best fighter in the world as I was fighting them. Even when I'm getting hit, I'm like, this is what I want. This is my moment. And I was just kind of in that zone. So when I got that knockdown, I was still kind of in that zone of talking to myself. The fight's finished, but I felt like I was still in the fight. It felt like it was just like a pause in the fight rather than in the end of the fight. And then you see me walking around. And then a few seconds later, I'm like, I've done it. It's done. This was a very long camp. And I've been going through that psychological like self-talk and like that process for like nearly, since September when I got matched. I've pretty much been going through that. And I went even more into that after he pulled out. And so I was just still in that zone. And then like for it to actually finish, it's like, when you suddenly just completed something like that you've been working for so long. So I was just in that moment, and it was quite surreal. Actually, you see my mood change back and forth, my emotions in that. I don't know if you watch it live. I don't know if it's in the shorter clip or not, but you see it. Like I was like 1 minute I'm calm, then I'm like emotional, then I'm like overexcited, and it was just so many things that hit me all at the same time.
I mean, it didn't actually hit you until you completed about 3-4 laps of the cage, I think. But it kind of hit you. I could see that it kind of hit you a bit more when your coaches came into the cage. When they came in and you had that Cage Warrior strap over your shoulder, how did it feel to share that moment with them as well?
That was it. Like it was just sharing that moment with my team. Like I'm not that attached to the belt. Like I've won titles before, and to be fair, I feel like you see my reaction. I feel like I had more of a buzz probably when I'd won the Almighty belt, in terms of like the kind of fire you see, the reaction. That fight, I felt like the belt was there just to show the world that I deserve this recognition. So the belt didn't mean that much to me personally, but for my team, the work that we put in, when I seen them come in and it was like, we've done it. That was more so what was making me kind of excited and like realize, we've done it, the accomplishment. It was more that than actually the belt. Hence, like when yes, I love the fact that I got the belt and that's the visual thing you see. But for me, it was the process. That's what was kind of in my mind a lot, and the completion of of a task that I set myself.
I mean, it was one of the craziest moments of 2020. It was on the last night as well. It's absolutely crazy. But talking a bit about the belt, have you actually figured out where to put it yet? Have you got a home for it? Maybe is it on your mantelpiece? Is it on the fridge behind you?
If you've seen my gym, we've got the belts all around. So it was meant to go in the middle, but because I'm having to take it to loads of people that want to take pictures and things, I've kept it down just on the desk at the gym for now. I thought once all this calms down, then I'm going to stick it on the wall with right in the middle, where, because I said that before, and I was like, I'm going to bring this, but I'm going to stick it in the middle of the gym. Where back when I beat Ronnie Man, I put we've got the Made for the Cage title. That was the biggest fight that I had back then. And I put that in the middle, and I was like, this is the only one that's going to replace that one.
I mean, it's going to look absolutely beautiful no matter where you put it. But that stunning knockout has also put you in contention for winning the Cage Warriors knockout of 2022. How does it feel to see that moment get all the recognition that it deserves?
It feels great. I feel like it shows the evolution of my skill set and the fact that I deserve to be in the UFC. I've been saying it, and sometimes obviously you can say it all you like, and people you have to prove it to people. And I feel like there's no other way I could have proved this point than what I did. A clean one punch knockout, potential KO of the year. The videos got absolutely viral everywhere. This, I just feel like that's as much as I can prove to say that I'm, put me in the UFC, give me that shot. I deserve it. I look at guys like I was just saying somewhere else, like Jake Hadley and things, and I know he beat me, but I'm like, you can see I'm a different fighter now. And credit to him for beating me when he beat me, but I would fight him in a heartbeat. It's like I believe he'd be. I believe Sam Creasey is is actually a tougher opponent than someone like than Jake Hadley, especially stylistically. He clipped me. He deserves that. And I'm sure he'll live off that knockout for a while. But I would just, yeah, he caught me before what I say before I got my dad's strength.
Yeah,
He got
exactly.
me. I just had my baby then. He was, and then so you can imagine, probably not the best time to fight, but I did. And
Yeah,
then after that,
that counts for a bit extra, doesn't it? That dad strike.
I would say that like that's the biggest difference since coming back. I feel like you always need something to kind of fight for, to kind of give you the push. And I felt like I lost that somewhere down in my career before I had some other stuff happen in my life. And I felt like I just lost something to give me that fight. I wanted it again. And then becoming a dad, I got knocked out in the first fight I had after. I was like, oh, does that mean being a dad was the reason I got KO'd? And then I thought, nah, I'm never going to let that be the reason I see that stop fighting or I'll go downhill. This is not going to be the point. I'm not going to have my son grow old and me tell him, oh, after you were born, I got knocked out and my career went downhill. I thought, no way. He needs to know that you can work back up for anything, and if you put your head to it, your mind to it, and you put your all into it, you can achieve what you set out to. And I can't wait to tell him that story of what happened when he got born. And then I got knocked out and then I climbed back up. And by the so he's just actually beside me now. He just gave me that I became a world champion just 2 years later, and how it's possible.
Well, it's going to be a special moment when you tell that story. But I mean, we just mentioned that you talk about the moment going viral. We were going back and forth a bit on Instagram the other day, and it's clear to see that all the media attention you're getting is quite overwhelming. And to top it off, you were interviewed by BBC Newcastle, and just last night you were featured on the Best of December montage on UFC Fight Pass social media.
Yes.
How special does that feel? Because I mean, I've spoken to a few fighters who have just had their knockout go up onto the UFC Fight Pass social media, and it's kind of blown their mind. Does it do the same to you, or is it kind of just like
yesterday So yesterday I got the notification suddenly. I am a UFC Fight Pass tagged me on something. I was like, oh, UFC Fight Pass. I know they posted my initial video. They didn't tag me on that one, and then I seen that got a lot of views. I was like, wow, that's good. I didn't, by the time I even got like back to the hotel, and there was like something hundreds of thousands of views already going around. And then just to see last night that to be a UFC Fight Pass moment of the year, or KO of the year, sorry. I thought, sorry, it was the KO of the month, wasn't it? Yeah, sorry, KO of the month. And I know how many high level fighters are on that, how many like elite level promotions are there, and for me to be on that with that knockout again just tells me, yes, I've done what I needed to do. There's nothing else I can do. And it was just really awesome to see it. Like I've always said, I've believed it, but I haven't been able to prove it. And now I feel like I've proved it. And when I was just seeing that the other day, and then one of I think it was my nephew sent me a screenshot of it. And I was like, it's unreal. Just to be to be there.
I mean, after this fight, you've had a lot of amazing moments, but there's one that I really want to highlight a bit more. I saw a beautiful video on Instagram where you presented the goal to your gym, Ace MMA in South Shields, and presented it to all your teammates. Surely, when you go back to your gym that you've worked with for so long, you present the goal to them. That must have been the cherry on top of the cake.
Yeah, to be fair, those moments to me are probably more meaningful, just because those are the people that matter. Those are the kids that I teach, and just I'm quite blessed to have the life that I have. I wouldn't say I've got all the money in the world, but I feel rich because I've just got like so many great people around me. I get to do what I enjoy doing, all the time, and I get to teach. So I feel like I'm always mixed up between who's my friend, my customer, and my work colleagues. It's like we're all one. It's really funny. And I just think that that's like it's a real blessing. And when I win things like this, and and I'm able to show it to the guys, it's I hope it kind of inspires them to think that actually if I can do it, they can do it too. They're going through that same process. They just have to put that mind into it. I hope that that they see what I've gone through to do it, because they go through this journey with me, and they see me do it, and what I do in the gym. We talk about what's happening outside. So I hope all these guys, and even just some of the kids and things, they can see that just from our little gym that we've got. It's not it's not the biggest gym in the world. You can achieve this. It's more about the people that you have with you and the mindset that you put into, and just your own hard work. I've said it before. Like I know I represent like there's a lot of Bangladesh hype going around as well. And that is something I'm really proud of. But I'm also super proud that I'm from South Shields and we're a small town. And I hope that the local kids and that want to be like either MMA fighter or just an athlete, anything, they see that someone from South Shields can become a world champion. So hopefully that inspires them to think actually they can do something really good as well. It's not all about just being you don't have to be in America to be successful. Some people think that people keep asking me that, or does that mean I'm going to move to America? I'm thinking no, I'm going to stay where I am. I've got all my friends, family here. We've got really good quality training just up here in northeast of England. Yes, maybe we can. I would definitely be interested to travel and train somewhere. But to move there, and because I think there's going to be higher quality training, I don't know. I feel like sometimes having the quality of training with the people that really care about you, you get better training out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, the levels there's very high level athletes here as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understandably as well. I mean, by winning Cage Warriors Gold, we just briefly mentioned Bangladesh. You are obviously proud to be from South Shields and Bangladesh. You wrote yourself into Bangladeshi MMA history by becoming the first Bangladeshi champion of all time. How proud does it make you feel knowing that you've just changed Bangladeshi MMA history forever?
That feels amazing. Just any country, I think that you can do something for. A whole country. That's a lot of people. That's a big, that's a big thing, really. Whether it's if you, I'm sure the first UK fighters feel the same. And for me to be able to do it for a country like for Bangladesh, and just it just feels great, and especially the response that I've been getting. Some of the people that message, I'm getting so many really nice messages. I don't think I've had any negative messages from anything. Just all congratulations and things, and the ones that say that I've inspired them, I'm thinking that means a lot. It's like to what I do to be able to inspire somebody to try to do something better. That's priceless. And that's kind of what I'm hoping that it does. It has like a bit of a snowball effect. Hopefully, I said it in one of my posts. I don't want to be the last world champion out of from a Bangladeshi heritage. Whether it's the UK, Bangladeshis around the world and other countries that have gone, or just or from the actual country itself, the ones that are living there. I hope it just kind of inspires them to just work harder, because maybe there won't be a world champion yet. But if someone over there now works harder, he can then teach the next guy to work a bit harder, and then that's just how it works, isn't it? That's how the sport evolves. So I hope that I've sped up the evolution of the sport over there, and I'm going to try to see what I can do, just with the means that I've got. At the moment, I'm very busy in terms of I've got my business, I've got my son, I've got kids. I've got so much happening, and I've got my wife and things like that, and I've got lots of things happening in my personal life as well as fighting professionally and trying to run a gym and things. But I hope once I can get things together, I'm going to have the means to do so. I do want to kind of do something for Bangladesh, and because up there, I'd say the sport's a little bit further behind, and they don't have as many opportunities as we do over here. So I'm pretty blessed to get the opportunities that I've gotten. But I hope that most people can see that, yes, the opportunities are something, but I haven't had for someone in the UK, I haven't had the greatest of opportunities, hence I've had to work so hard for it. That people see that it's the hard work that's important. It's the process that's important. It's trying to do the process and doing it with everything you've got. Because that was my goal, and it still is. My goal is that when I retire, I want to be able to look back on my career and be like, I gave it my all, and that's where I got. And that's kind of what the mindset that I want my son to see. That you give it your all, you enjoy the journey, and then if I get to where I get to, I want to be the best. But if I don't get there, I know I've given it my all, and there's nothing much more I could have done. And that's kind of the mindset that I've got at the moment. I hope that other people can see that too.
I mean, from the outside looking in, I can certainly see that anyway. But do you believe a moment like this is something that Bangladeshi MMA needed? Do you think this will now carve a path for other Bangladeshi fighters to work their way to the top, maybe to a Cage Warriors promotion? Even further.
Definitely. I think from the response I've already had, it's already inspired a lot of people. So it's definitely give a little boost. And that's why I'm hoping that if I can get into the Sorry, I think it just went off. There's someone I think called. Is that all right now? Yeah, sorry about that.
That's
So
what
I
happens
was
when
just
you're a champion. That's what happens when you're a champion. You get phone calls. You're a busy man.
But no, sorry. We were just saying. So what was the question of that one again? I just got myself sidetracked there.
So, do you believe a moment like this is what
Oh
Bangladeshi
yes,
MMA needs to go
yes.
forward?
So I feel like a moment like this is definitely one of like something that'll accelerate the growth. And that's why I've always said if I can get to the UFC, that I think will just be like immense. I think that would be so much bigger. Which is why I really hope I can get that contract and I can show that we can perform at the UFC level. Because I believe I'm a UFC level fighter. It's just a matter of again, people need to see it to believe it. And if I can get that contract and do it, it's might not be the same, but it's just like how Conor inspired so many guys from Ireland. If you can be the first there or one of the biggest fighters there, it inspires people. Conor inspired the entire world, the whole sport of MMA. I know people can agree or disagree with the way he did it, but if you can do something like that, you can really inspire people and make a change. And I feel like maybe I can't do what Conor did, but I do feel like I can do a lot for the Bangladeshi community, especially those in Bangladesh.
That actually brings me perfectly onto my next question. What is next for you? Obviously, now the Cage Warriors flyweight champion. That's now 5 wins in a row, I believe. And you
Yeah.
are on an absolute roll. You look at your record, the only people you've actually lost to, apart from the other two, are UFC athletes. They're under the UFC roster. What's next? Is it defending the flyweight title? Or are you eyeing up a spot under the UFC banner? What is next for you?
So I think for every fighter, we're always trying to get into the UFC. So but it's not that straightforward. So I've just said it in I think all my answers there, and I believe I should be in the UFC. I believe I've done everything I need to do. I just need that opportunity to fight on that stage. But I don't know what's going to exactly happen, and maybe I'll defend the belt. But at the moment, I've had 5 fights in about 14 or 15 months. I need a little bit of a break. So I said the only reason. So we have I do Ramadan and that comes in March. But there's a UFC just before it, and I was thinking it's in London. UFC London's just before it, so I was like, I think the only thing that would give me that push to do it all over again within a short period of time is if I got that UFC shot. I think if not, I'd like to take a little bit of a break and fight again, maybe in the next half of the year, and whether that's defending the belt or whatever comes next. But at the moment, right now, I'm just enjoying not having a fight. I've had a fight, prepping for a fight literally for like a year and a half. It's been tough for my family and everything. So I'm kind of just enjoying not having a fight, not feeling like I have to really plan all this training and dieting and things. I'm quite enjoying just coaching and things now. So I'm really trying to help my guys get better while I've got the time to do so. So I'm just kind of just enjoying the moment and just seeing what comes next. And I'm really hoping that I get that UFC opportunity.
I mean, even if it's not this next UFC London, I'm sure there's an opportunity for them to come back towards the end of the year, middle of the year. I'm sure it's going to
I can
happen.
make the benefit with me is I can make weight within like a week. Like
Yeah.
I don't cut a lot of weight, and that's also I kind of want to show that you don't need to cut a lot of weight to fight at this level. I think some people just do it far too much, like overly cut weight. I think guys can perform potentially better if they didn't cut as much weight. So I'm one of those. Yeah, so I could fight like next week. I don't need like a 10-week camp just to lose a bit of weight like most of the guys do.
Well, there we are. I expect to see you back in there next week. But finally, do you have a message for your fans out there who are tuning into Combat Sports UK right now? Because I know there'll be loads of them.
Yeah, so I've actually been in a lot of the interviews that I've been having, and even on that BBC radio, something like a message that I'm trying to get out just while I'm speaking to people is the stereotype of MMA. I feel like I was talking about inspiration for the youth and things, but it doesn't matter how much they're inspired if the parents and things think, oh, they're going into a really bad environment, like a bad sport, a brutal, rough sport, or something like that, they're not going to stick at it. So I'm hoping that I can try to kind of change that mindset. There's a lot more benefits to MMA than what people think. And people just think it's just two people just punching each other in the face and things. I've noticed that a lot of people just assume, say, like fighters aren't educated. But I try to explain to them, I've got a first class honors degree in coaching. I've done it. I could be a school teacher within another year if I wanted to. It's not that like being a fighter requires a lot of discipline and a lot of a lot of work. You can't just be aggressive and think that you're just going to be able to tough it through. And I'm kind of trying to hope that I can kind of get the message out that there's the benefits of like MMA far outweighs what you see. Yes, you get a few knocks and bruises, but that far is outweighed by like the health benefits. Kids especially staying off the street. You hear from loads of stories from boxing. It's the same for MMA. Obviously just that self-defense element. And just the skills they learn things like confidence, communication skills, and all sorts of things that you learn in that environment. So that's kind of one of the messages I've been trying to get out whenever I'm getting an opportunity to talk about it. Is for parents to also see it so that they understand that the kid's actually in a better place being in an MMA gym or even a boxing gym, any kind of martial arts gym really. But especially MMA because it's got that cage fighting stigma, and that you can it can actually change your kids' lives for a lot better than what people think. I have that problem. I've had that problem when I was a kid. Trying to convince people that what I'm doing isn't a waste of time. And people see an odd little black eye here and they think it's the end of the world. I'm thinking that black eye is worth not doing this, that, and the other when you're young. If your kids come back home with a little black eye, but they haven't been doing drugs and drinking and things like that, it's probably it's the better trade-off. And that's one of the things. And also just for like women as well. My sisters say it a lot. The especially BJJ, the grappling, I think for women is super important. I think for women, if they ever, if they learn a little bit of jiu-jitsu off the back to an adequate level, it can save their life. Jiu-jitsu, you learn how to fight off your back and things like that. So even if you're not super strong, you learn how to defend yourself. So that's another huge part, I think, of MMA. That's where my sisters even train it, even though they don't compete. And my wife does it as well. So that's kind of the message I hope I can get out. Anytime I'm getting an opportunity to talk about it, I'm kind of trying to just kind of talk about it and take away that stereotype of MMA.
I mean, what a brilliant way to conclude this interview and what a brilliant way to use your platform. But ladies and gentlemen, there we have it. Thank you very much to the new Cage Warriors Flyweight Champion for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be joined by you.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate this.
Thank you very much. And you can find the champ's social media on the screen now. So give him a follow, drop him a message and show him all